and be, even though she hate that role, when she was with a man that's weak, she hate him. But if he try to be strong, she'll stop it. I never imagine that. You're seeing good destroyed and abnormal is presented as normal. Isn't Nick a Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. How you doing, folks? Thank you for tuning in on this fine Wednesday. Appreciate it. coming in from Joel's chat, watching the shows today on the network. Isn't it a Mexican? Appreciate it. How you doing, folks? Welcome. Welcome to the show. Okay, we got a little show for you. So allow me to get into it here on this fine Wednesday. The week is going by so fast already. Thursday, in no time at all, we'll be preparing for White History Month. We'll be taking a flight this Friday. Don't miss it. 4 p.m. Pacific time and all that. You want to hit the subscribe button. You want to hit the like button. You want to be hitting these buttons to tell the algorithm what you like so you don't miss your flights. A transatlantic flight? I mean, it's looking like it's going to be, folks. So strap in or get ready to Friday because we're going to Europe. We're going on a Euro trip, getting ready for White History Month. So thank you. That's already, we're already there. We're almost there in no time at all. And you can call in 888-775-3773. But no time at all, really. White History Month will be upon us in no time at all. So why don't you have it on yet? You know what I mean? Okay. A couple of things I want to get into. You know, there's this Adam Kinzinger guy. If you know anything about him, Adam Kinzinger, you might remember that name. But a former politician here, formerly represented Illinois' 11th congressional district, okay? Then later the 16th, okay? He was in Congress, and you remember him crying about January 6th and a couple of things, okay? He's saying he's backing Joe. So a couple of things brought up there that I wanted to get into. So get into Kinzinger, you know, the Supreme Court, major things with censorship, with Alito saying that we may come to regret this soon. And so it's we're politicking a little bit here, trying to make sense of some things. You know, the debate is supposedly tomorrow. This debate, Trump versus Biden. Who knows how that'll go? What's the big move here? I don't know who's thinking it'll be positive for them, but it's just all unsure. That's going on tomorrow, though. They're saying the VP is picked. Trump saying that at least. And J.D. Vance was on Fox and Friends actually this morning. Well, I don't know about this morning, but I saw it this morning getting prepared for the Jesse Lee Peterson show. And J.D. Vance was on Fox and Friends with his wife, Usha. And so I don't really have much to say about that. But look, we're going to get into some politic and a little bit of other things here as these things all heat up in these times of conflict, right? You know, there's interesting things happening too. You know, I mentioned Jamal Bowman yesterday. I mentioned, or was it yesterday or earlier this week? Monday maybe. I mentioned Jamal Bowman. He was running for re-election, and that didn't go so well. Interesting things happening with all that, though. Specifically with the Democrats, they're decrying the money behind all this stuff, and the Democrats are groaning at AIPAC overkill against Jamal Bowman. And this just, the anchor baby's getting educated. I'm seeing politics in a different way. Hopefully, I'll be able to express some of these things here. And you can call in, of course, 888-775-3773, maybe to help educate, to disagree, agree, all those things, okay? But they're saying there's different factions forming in politics, and there are signs of this, okay? Money being one of them, but also support and all that. And we're going to get into some censorship today. If you remember a little bit, the ADL tried to intimidate Elon Musk and Twitter. That's the Anti-Defamation League. And has seemingly blown up in their faces. It's seemingly blown up in the faces of the people who want censorship. And namely, really, to be particular here, it seems to have blown up in their faces, not in a particular win for free speech or win for conservatism or the right side, but like, what can we call it? An out of control train that has now seemingly put its crosshairs on the Jewish people, on Israel, etc. And I personally don't even know. I have no even conclusion on these factions forming, which I hope to express here shortly. Because I'd like to hear why this team up is so bad. I'd like to hear why it's good. We'll get into it, okay, folks? 888-775-3773. But first, we'll kick it off with a little Kinzinger here. Our democracy. Talking about democracy here. Crying for our democracy. Is it dying? Is it dying, folks? Our democracy. I remember hearing all the time that America's not well, hold up, from conservatives, right? A little nitpicking from conservatives I heard over the years. Well, wait. We can love all this democracy stuff, but we're a republic. And I'm not hearing any of that nitpicking lately. Maybe everybody's a Democrat now. Everybody's a Democrat. Loving democracy. Or is that too simplistic on the language? Okay. Adam Kinzinger is going to be supporting Biden. And I wanted to speak on this because you hear about this democracy stuff, namely that Trump is undoing it. He's undoing it, bringing apart the democracy that we love, apparently, and the Constitution. And he's just not law and order. And that's kind of one of the main criticisms here. How do I put it? When it comes to this politics stuff and all that, in a simplistic way, people are just tribalistic, and you might look at Biden and think, well, who's voting for this bumbling idiot? Look at him trip over his words. He's literally tripping on stage. And speaking nonsense, I don't know exactly what's going on, but many have noted an even worse, like an even new low in Biden's cognition, et cetera, and stuff like that. And so you end up wondering, well, look at these guys. They're putting up Biden. They're going to be no contest. This guy could barely stand. But it's a little bit, I think voters are thinking differently. And for them, it's enough to fight against this man who is bringing down democracy. You've heard them even call my show. Well, Nick, how can you support this guy? Though I think I've even had Republicans call my show, possibly. But whatever, I've had people call my show say, well, Trump, he's a criminal, though. Can we agree on that? Like, a criminal is a criminal. When you break the law, you break the law. And you've heard them on my show. And so, let me kick it off here. We got Kinzinger, Adam Kinzinger. And, he's this former lieutenant colonel in the Air National Guard, served as a representative from Illinois from 2011 to 2023, member of the Republican Party. And over the years, he's been, is it fair to just say mainstream conservative? Voting pretty much conservatively. And not that the anchor baby was following politics that deeply before 2016, but I can't seem to find anything significant from Adam Kinzinger besides being a Republican conservative guy, okay? Trump comes on the scene and he starts breaking. You start seeing different things. He doesn't like the guy. He's unwell, he calls him. But of course, this all came to a head at January 6th. When Kinzinger was very vocal in condemning Trump in his role in the Capitol riot and all that stuff, called it the president. He said the president caused this, he said. The president caused this. He's talking about January 6th, that he's unfit, that he's unwell. Kinzinger was one of the few Republicans who voted to impeach Trump for this January 6th stuff. He was super against him. Any claims of election and fraud and all that stuff, any of those claims, he called that out, saying it's ridiculous. They're trying to take down democracy, right? Burn down the whole White House. But even before that, he's shown himself to be what? Like a NATO military establishment guy, okay? Adam Kinzinger, for those that maybe not following some moments from the past, for example, 2020, Kinzinger broke with Trump, began to become more apparent during particular issues like foreign policy and his rhetoric. So, for example, Syria and Afghanistan, Kinzinger was critical of Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria and Afghanistan. And if you remember, in that moment, he's echoing what the establishment was echoing. He came in saying, "I don't want wars. I want to bring the troops home." And he starts actually doing it, because I feel like other Republicans make these claims, but he starts actually doing it, and it's like, whoa, man, you're undoing whatever. Relations with Russia, he kind of bought into this concern over Russia and Trump's being way too nice to Putin and not being combative enough, because that's another establishment, what I've noticed, kind of establishment thing here. You got to be pro NATO. You got to be pro putting missiles wherever. We're the kings here. And, if they, and you say you want to make a deal with Russia, you want to make a deal with Putin? What are you, some kind of, traitor? All sorts of things. There's this cult in like the war, what shall I call it inaccurately here? The war section of American politics. There's this cult that's been calling different people in the world the Hitlers of their area. That's just another Hitler. What are you doing making deals and trying to make peace? And if you know anything about Trump, that's kind of how he is. So anyways, let's get to Kinzinger here real quick. That was a little bit on him, my impression of him and what I know. Kinzinger saying he's going to be supporting Biden for the 2024 election.
I'm Adam Kinzinger, and I'm a proud conservative. I always have been. As a proud conservative, I've always put democracy and our Constitution above all else. And it's because of my unwavering support for democracy that today, as a proud conservative, I'm endorsing Joe Biden for re-election. My entire life has been guided by the conviction that America is a beacon of freedom, liberty, and democracy. So while I certainly don't agree with President Biden on everything, and I never thought I'd be endorsing a Democrat for president, I know that he will always protect the very thing that makes America the best country in the world: our democracy. Donald Trump poses a direct threat to every fundamental American value. He doesn't care about our country. He doesn't care about you. He only cares about himself, and he'll hurt anyone or anything in pursuit of power. We saw that when he tried to overturn an election that he knew he lost in 2020. He attacked the foundation of this nation, encouraging a violent mob of his supporters to march on the Capitol to prevent the peaceful transition of power. Now he's become even more dangerous. He's called for termination of the Constitution. He wants to be a dictator on day one. He actually said that. And he's continuing to stoke the flames of political violence. There's too much at stake to sit on the sidelines. So to every American of every political party, and those of none, I say now is not the time to watch quietly as Donald Trump threatens the future of America. Now's the time to unite behind Joe Biden and show Donald Trump off the stage once and for all.
Once and for all, Adam Kinzinger.
I'm Adam Kinzinger, and I'm a proud...
All right, Adam, thank you. Adam Kinzinger, he cares about democracy, folks. And you should too. Let's put aside our differences and come together, unite in this democracy against this man. And I want to sort of take these. I find it hard to take Kinzinger seriously at all with some of the things he said there. Oh, this democracy, this beacon of freedom and liberty. If he cared so much about that, he would be at least not supporting the lawfare the Biden administration is putting forth against Trump and all these other things that they've done everything to that man besides kill him, right? You understand that? Going after his family, all this stuff. We'll get into that. So I don't see this beacon of freedom, and if he cared about it at all, he at least wouldn't support this witch hunt and all that, right? So he says it's this thing we can unite on, but we don't even have that. I mean, we don't even have this democracy you're talking about. Just ask your average American. And you might think when you ask your average American, you'll get, what I'm saying there is once you go around asking Americans, you'll get a split. You'll get a split. You understand? And you might look at that split. You might look at one side of those Americans and be like, well, they're just brainwashed and dumb or whatever. But the point stands. Where's your democracy? There's only war. Okay? Only cares about himself. He knew he lost. They say this about Trump, that he knew he lost. So he's throwing that in there. Like you're not allowed to ask questions. You know, they say they thoroughly investigated all that stuff. So what the heck do I know? But, you know, he keeps saying these lies about encouraging people and all that. So it's hard to take Kinzinger seriously. But I, at the same time, want to, what's the word here? At least properly, you know, hear out some of these arguments, even if the person saying them seems a little ridiculous to me. Because you understand this right here, and maybe like other little things like abortion and other things like that, women versus men. These are kind of the things in the air that are motivating people to vote one way or another, in my opinion. It's this right here. It's not Biden. He's so dumb he can't speak. Could you really want this guy to lead? No, people believe this. People believe this kind of other side of the argument or whatever. And so, in a sense, that's why I'm giving it a little bit of space here. Shout out to the fellas out in the office. Do me a solid, sirs. If you can turn on this fan, this Vornado here, I would appreciate that. The Anchor, baby. Even with the AC, I just can't live without a fan now. I've been pampered. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So where was I? 888-775-3773. If I may nitpick a little bit here, Kinzinger. Terminating the Constitution. Trump calls for termination of the Constitution in a Truth Social post. And, of course, the media example showing us how evil the media is, as if we didn't know that already from 2016. Trump calls for the termination of the Constitution in Truth Social post some time ago. Kinzinger still bringing this up. You know, you just look it up. You just have to look it up. You have to know this by now. And you look up what he was saying. Do you throw the presidential... okay. So this is from Truth Social. Trump saying, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Now, I don't know if that's true. It might be. I honestly don't know. But it's clear that in this, he's talking about being lawful. He's talking about going against unlawfulness. And he's talking about justice here. That has to be clear. Come on, folks. Come on, Kinzinger. Terminating the Constitution. I mean, he's just quite clear here. A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules and regulations, whether he's being inaccurate there or whatever. The point of this is to say he wants to see the right thing happen. Okay? That should be clear. So just to clear that up from Kinzinger, from folks who may be hearing that, okay? This dictator stuff too. The funny thing about the dictator thing is not even that, oh, people got it wrong, that he's not talking about being a fascist and actually undoing the Constitution. The funny part isn't even that people actually believe that. It's that his supporters and anyone who's like halfway paying attention and decent, I don't know, wouldn't really disagree. At least, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the funny part about this. Is people say, yeah, give him the reins here. Let's kind of get things fixed. But when you go in and look it up, Trump vows only to be a dictator on day one. This followed some comments from Sean Hannity or whatever, who asked him about being a dictator. Fox News host Sean Hannity gave his longtime friend Trump a chance to assure the American people he wouldn't abuse power or seek retribution if he wins a second term. But instead of offering a perfunctory answer, brushing off the warnings, Trump stoked the fire, writes AP. Except for day one, says Trump. He says, and Trump reenacted the exchange in front of a different audience, telling them about this Hannity moment, saying, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" And Trump says, no. Other than day one, we're closing the border, he says. Day one, close the border and drill, he says. And after that, I'm not a dictator. After that, he'll stop the dictator stuff. See, the funny thing about that is most people are totally okay with that. Besides the lie that Kinzinger is kind of putting forth there, kind of misrepresenting the whole thing about being an authoritarian dictator. Here's the thing, you gotta have that kind of will. What's gonna need to be done for the border and all that is gonna require some I don't know if it'll require even presidential action, because it brings me back to 2016 and Trump's first term. And it seems like executive orders, all these things, they could just be undone by the next administration. So, for me, it might require even more than that. Congressional action, which Trump can lead. The will just has to be there, and because the people want it, and it has to get done. They talk about election interference, for whatever you could say about 2020, for whatever you want or can't say about that, what should be done and all that. I just don't know the deets. I have my suspicions. But, look, Trump they're saying he's in trouble for having similar suspicions. So how far be it from me to dare to even have a question in my mind about such things. That's clearly not lawful in America. In the beacon of freedom, as Adam Kinzinger says, right? So Trump vowing to be a dictator, what it's going to take for the border, you talk about election integrity and all that. Would you say that pales in comparison to the importation of voters at the southern border? So that's major, day one. And I personally believe Trump here. I honestly think he's this guy. He's this guy who wants to close the border and wants to drill day one. There's this criticisms, like he was talking about clipping the green cards on diplomas, and I mentioned that too the other day. I also mentioned my what should I call it? My criticisms of that, mass migration. It's just the door is just too open for that, and I see way more negatives than positives personally. On this though, Trump, if I may nitpick on the criticisms, and you're welcome to have them. We're not doing this. You can't criticize stuff. You can't. We're not doing this. Because I personally think he withstands it a lot, in my opinion. And on this clip in the green cards, he's kind of it's kind of his MO. No, think about it like this: he's changed the outlook on immigration from it being a humanitarian thing to it being a business thing, which is kind of how he operated his businesses. No, he used migrant labor. Can we put it like that? So anyways, mass immigration, what can I say? I definitely don't agree with that. I wouldn't call this mass immigration, but the door is just too open for that. You got to close it. And I think he's that guy. He wants to close the border and do something about that in a way more positive way. We saw the first term, and there's many things that can be learned about, right? The border itself. what's being constructed. Anyways, look. So where was I? Witch hunt. Here's some democracy, right? I have callers call my show wondering why I'm supporting a criminal. How are you going to support someone who's being investigated by such horrible things? So the media goes after this guy, his whole family, the E. Jean Carroll thing. I mean, come on. That by itself, that this woman could come out and say these things about Trump and then he's liable for some, I don't know, strange thing that's not even totally rape. And he's liable for defaming her for saying things against the things she was saying about him, and liable for a whole bunch of money. And the evidence they used against him was him saying you can grab him by the... As if that's supposed to be actual evidence. This is this is your standard of justice in America? Okay, the documents thing, which was selective because they left Biden alone on that one. It comes down to this democracy they're defending. The same democracy wishes to silence. They call speech hate. They call speech hate and violence. So Russia, Ukraine, January 6th, nonsense conspiracy statutes. Oh, it's a campaign finance law, and because you put the money like this, and you're trying to overturn an election. Yeah, it's vengeance. Okay, it's not lawful, and I can't go along with any of this. Oh, you should be fair and care about the democracy and care that this man is being accused of such things. Okay, so that's that on the witch hunt stuff. Democracy, what a joke. Yeah. What else here? My personal thoughts on the man Trump. There's some interesting things going on around him. J.D. Vance, Jamal Bowman. We're going to get into those things in a moment here. But I support the man. What else was I? 888-775-3773. What else was I going to say here? Trump, democracy. Bada bing. Okay, look. So that's a little bit on that, huh? Kinzinger and all that. Let's see. I think I'm forgetting something about Trump. And what else here? Dictator, day one. I think we got through it, folks. Whatever. Okay. Anyway, so that's a little bit about politicking here with Kinzinger and this general vibe of law and order. So if you're going to be that shallow, you can't even say that about him, because so far everything I've mentioned, he doesn't want vengeance. He doesn't want retribution. He wants law. He wants to use the law and bring things back into order. They criticize him for the Hillary stuff and not going after them and all that. I didn't even quite understand it back then. Thought going after Hillary and Obama, like, what's the is that even possible? But anyways, what am I trying to say with that? I'm just trying to express the criminal element of this opposing side, and anyone trying to say they're the side that wants to keep democracy alive and all that is fooling themselves. Absolutely fooling themselves. Okay? So anyways, 2016, keeping on this politicking. Oh, darn. Yeah, you're right, Doom Jesus. You did mention that on the earlier stream. And Doom Jesus in my chat may have found out why my show buffers for you guys sometimes. And it may be only for him. It may be just for him. But yeah, you guys, if you guys can let me know the general health of my streams. Yeah, would you say, sort of, it was okay? It dropped frames every now and again. We miss seconds. They're just gone. And I think Doom Jesus may have found out why. And it seems like my stream may be a little funny. Not just Fridays, although Fridays, thanks to Bill, at least that issue has been fixed. But even if I stream out of the studio here, people mention strange things with my stream. I think it's the latency thing, Doom Jesus. Basically, you can set it so the delay between what I'm saying here in this camera and when it gets to you, it can be shorter, it could be longer, so we can interact better. And I got it on low, very, very low latency. Maybe something here is not up to par. So I don't know about all that. I'll look into Doom Jesus speaking about it so that I'll remember it. It's ingrained in my mind. Maybe if I think about it more. Okay. 888-775-3773. I see calls coming in. And we'll get to the calls. But what else do I want to say? Oh, well, whatever. Look, there's this amazing... it's politicking, but look, Supreme Court, and you might find this fascinating. It's going to involve all of us for a long time to come, possibly. Supreme Court rules in favor of Biden administration in big tech censorship case. Alito warns country may come to regret this decision. And so we're going to censorship for this one. And it's a major thing. You got to understand. I've said it before, but it really is true. I asked ChatGPT. It is confirmed. 2016 was the first election where the smartphone was truly ubiquitous, meaning the majority of people had one. You understand? Ubiquitousness of the smartphone. Everyone had one in their pockets. They're getting their news. They're getting their different takes. They're getting their podcasts. They're getting educated. They're doing their own research. They're doing their Googles. And that was a big change, okay? 2016, over 77% of American adults owned a smartphone, according to Pew Research Center, making it the first presidential election where smartphones were truly ubiquitous. By 2016, smartphone adoption had reached a significant majority. The 2016 election saw unprecedented levels of social media activity, with candidates using these platforms and all that. You know, I heard something the other day, and I don't even know if it's true, but I heard someone describe, I can't remember now. I heard people describe 2016, I forget who it was, described the 2016 election as the Facebook election, I think, because of the significant impact. I could be wrong about that, but then they called the 2020 election the Instagram election. Was 2020 the Instagram election? I'm asking Google. And I can't remember who said this, but now they're saying that 2024 is the X and TikTok election. And this person was saying that because of the massive influence that social media has had over these elections, it's brand new significance, and by brand new I mean it's very important significance brought to the top due to this technological change in 2016. So you got that, and they're calling it the X and TikTok one now because of the over the years fight between censorship and these platforms and the government, and this relationship between those things. Okay. it reminds us of X.com a little bit, where an Elon Musk bought Twitter. And the major kind of like the media outcry that's kind of been coming out since, decrying what they were calling was going to be a Nazi platform, a racist platform where you could just be these horrible things and all that. There was a huge campaign to have advertisers pull their money from X.com, trying to, stop it dead in its tracks, stop what Musk was doing, which was what? His stated goal at the time, and still continues to be as far as I'm concerned, was to truly make X a platform for the people, where you can't just, where it's not not a government or a company or something governing the speech, but it's the people, the community, and maybe a little bit of the law. You can't go too crazy with it. There are criticisms even today of Musk and Twitter and X.com that it's not as free speech as it could be, and there may be fair criticisms there. But anyways, we're remembering that saga. We're remembering all that. And it's possible, and I'm mentioning that because that's possibly the reason why they're calling this election the X and TikTok election. What's making them so popular? Free speech. Who'da thunk it? Who'da thunk it? Free speech, free people talking, even if it might offend, even if it might this or that. Could it be those are the reasons why they're getting so popular? So here's the news. A little bit. Here's the news. Supreme Court rules in favor of Biden admin in big tech censorship case. So here's the major news. Supreme Court on Wednesday rejected a challenge against the Biden administration, accusing it of improperly colluding with big tech companies to censor social media posts deemed misinformation about the COVID-19 pandemic and other topics. So that's the claim here, challenging the Biden administration, okay, that they weren't allowed to do all that censorship, even if they deemed it misinformation. So in a 6-3 decision, the justices held that the plaintiffs, led by the Attorney General of Louisiana and Missouri, lacked standing to bring the case. Justice Samuel Alito dissented, warning in a blistering opinion that America may come to regret the majority ruling, and was joined by Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch. You may have heard about Alito recently because of the flag stuff. Saying, these Supreme Court people are biased. They're insurrectionist judges. Because, look, his wife flew a flag upside down in support of January 6th or some crap like that. And it echoes really the same kind of vibe and spirit that Kinzinger and these gotta save the democracy types are spewing. In that they accuse the person they're accusing of the very thing they're doing. Saying, oh, you're unlawful, you're undemocratic, when they support the witch hunt and all that. Or saying that Alito and others are biased and insurrectionist judges and wouldn't make for a good justice, but at the same time, outwardly expressing their support for censoring Americans because what are they doing in that scenario? They're not really holding these justices' feet to the fire to be blind arbiters of justice. No, that's not what Alito's doing. Is standing against all these liars who want to hamstring you and get you in trouble for things that are afforded to you by right, the free speech and all these things. So that's kind of how I see it. A little bit on Alito. And that's what's going on with the Supreme Court. The plaintiffs had sought an injunction to restrict the administration's ability to coerce social media companies like Facebook and X to take down certain posts. So they want to kind of take that ability away from the government, from the Biden administration, the government here. The reasoning being, the justification being this COVID-19 misinformation stuff, where they told companies where they were able to censor, they got those companies to censor the speech of Americans. So if you're following so far. That's their justification. They want to take away that ability from the administration. And the administration countered that it was merely exercising the federal government's own free speech rights in advising about a public health emergency, as they do it with a bat. We're just poof, poof. You better censor that or you'll get in trouble. We're just using our free speech. And I'm being a little bombastic and dramatic, but it's not just a private. It's not just some individual telling Facebook and X and all that, hey, you got to do this. No, it's, if you remember anything about the laptop files, the Twitter files, how you had federal investigative agencies, right? We're talking about the FBI or CIA, one of them, advising, using their free speech to advise Facebook about these similar things, advise Twitter about these things. And you got to wonder are we stretching the meanings here a little bit, Biden administration? They say to establish standing. This is in fact from Amy Coney Barrett, the conservative justice appointed by Trump. You know, it's a mess sometimes. But okay, to establish standing, the plaintiffs must demonstrate a substantial risk that in the near future they will suffer an injury that is traceable to a government defendant and redressable by the injunction they seek. Where's a lawyer when I need one? Help me out. Amy Coney Barrett saying no plaintiff has carried that burden. So, I mean, basically, a lawyer could maybe help me out here if I'm getting something wrong. But I'm to understand Amy Coney Barrett is saying that you can't say that someone got hurt over this censorship, so it would be too broad. It would be too broad here. The plaintiffs assert injuries based on the restrictions that countless other social media users have experienced. This theory would grant all social media users the right to sue over someone else's censorship, Barrett later added. And Alito is saying he's disagreeing. He's calling the actions of the administration officials blatantly unconstitutional, saying purely private entities like newspapers are not subject to the First Amendment, but government officials may not coerce private entities to suppress speech. And the record before us is vast. What the court seems to want are a series of ironclad links from a particular coercive communication to a particular change in Facebook's rules or practice, and then to a particular adverse action. No such chain was required. If I may translate a little bit from what I understand there, and maybe the lawyers in the chat can help. What Alito is saying is he's basically calling the Supreme Court obtuse. He's being like, why are you guys being obtuse about this? You guys are waiting for a perfect link where the government clearly told Facebook to, do something against the First Amendment. And then this coercive communication from the government led to this particular change in Facebook's rules or practice. And it led to a particular adverse action. What Alito's saying is you guys are waiting for this ironclad chain. And you don't need the chain like that. You could just see the influence. You could see the conflicts of interest here and the wrong usage of influence. Is nobody seeing this? That's my understanding of what Alito said there. Is nobody's, come on. You guys are being obtuse. You guys are being totally obtuse. So that's how I took what he said there. So that's the story with the Supreme Court. The warnings from the true conservative justices here on Big Tech. You got Charlie Kirk here with some commentary on this that I thought was at least informative. At least informative. Okay, Charlie Kirk saying, now that the Supreme Court has declared that the federal government, with its awesome power to audit, imprison, or break up companies with antitrust authority, can use social media companies to censor protected speech, expect the Biden administration to use this to great effect ahead of November. I mean, you can't help but notice the timing. Right? On the election, 100-something days away from the election, the actual election of the President of the United States. Charlie Kirk with more informative tweets. The 6-3 SCOTUS ruling backing the Biden administration's coercion of social media companies effectively means the government can censor Americans' constitutionally protected speech as long as they outsource it to a third party. Unbelievable. Alito's dissent is spot on. And if I may, real quick on this, the section of the dissent that Kirk picked out, I'll read it now. That is regrettable. What the officials did in this case was more subtle than the ham-handed censorship found to be unconstitutional in 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎, which is some other thing. But it was no less coercive. And because of the perpetrator's high positions, it was even more dangerous. It was blatantly unconstitutional, and the country may come to regret the court's failure to say so. So, incredible. That's the dissent there. And a little bit on censorship. Is there anyone at all, a single person, Republican, Democrat, at all, who would care about censorship for real? It's hard to find someone it's honestly hard to find a Republican who would agree that hate speech is free speech, who would say something like that. It's hard to find someone who agrees to those things. So the bar is low a little bit. Not trying to be black-pilled. But where was I? Yeah. A little bit on what's going on there. Censorship. So anyways. Nick Towers in the chat. The Nick Tower Brigade defending against the heartless N-word tower makers, quick to put a C where a G might be. I'm laughing at my chat, folks. You got to be in there to understand what's going on. Do you even know what an N-word tower is? Some of you listening at home, do you even know what I mean when I say that? How can there be an N-word tower? Aren't you interested in knowing? Don't you want to know what that is? Where do you watch my show? You podcast it? Check out YouTube once in a while. And go into the chat section. Maybe you're not missing much. But there are lovely people. The power and youth exists in my chat. So you might enjoy it. Jump in the chat, help the anchor baby, tickle the algorithm, chat away, leave a comment. That tickles the algorithm even better. We need a Trump tower. Don't get him started, Terry. Don't get the people started. I mean, I'm not going to be mad about that. But man, I swear, make a tower of anything. Build it and they will come. You know what I mean? I swear, you build it and they will come. What other tower can you build? Build it and they will come. I'm laughing at some of the responses to what other towers you could build. Tower power. What's that tower supposed to be? Oh, I think I'm seeing borderline. This is the tower of someone's struggle, I think. I think this is I'm seeing the tower of someone struggling, possibly. And this person may have struggled all the way to the end. It's just struggling and talking about his struggle. Other people caught on to Joel's drift, I think. They're typing out Hitler in my chat, okay? if you're wondering what's going on here. Did I anger the algorithm by saying that? Did I just anger the algorithm? Okay, we could talk. Wait, we can't talk about World War II now, algorithm? What if I said it was the most horrible thing in the world? And the only and that it taught us that you have to make racism the worst thing in the world so that you may combat all future Hitlers at World War II, 3, 4, 5, for future world wars to stop this from happening. We were taught this, no? So don't get mad at me, YouTube. We were taught these things. You know, this on that note, it does kind of bring me to AIPAC versus Jamal Bowman. Okay? So I'll get into that in a moment here because I don't even know exactly what to think about this entirely. But I feel like some of you might. Maybe we can get educated. Appreciate the support. We got super chats. Hold on. Thank you so much. Says, we got Skyjack with the super chat says, let the white kids say glizza. Truer words have not been spoken except possibly for similar words, Skyjack, but with the N-word. Let the white kids say glizza. And we may have a piece. We may have, look, if you let the white kids say the N-word, we may be able to continue the union for another 100 years. You've heard me say it before. And I don't mean that doesn't mean we're truly unite. Because to do that, you need to forgive. To truly unite the races, you got to unite them with love and not hate and not lies. Okay, and that requires repenting. That requires admitting that you're wrong, that you're angry, that you've been blaming whoever you are. And so that might happen in a smaller way, maybe even in a grand way. Don't allow me to poo-poo the future like that. But when I say that giving every American an N-word pass might maintain the union for another 100 years, I mean in the way it's been going. It's not like it's been totally unified, like just a band of unified brothers from the beginning. Like maybe to some degree. But let's leave some space even with that. Because you hear of some people, they call my show, they'll be like, Nick, we got to, unite. We got to just kick out all these races. Like, I have a problem with mass immigration. Don't get me started on that. But look, they say we got to kick out all these races and just make an ethno-state or something. And then we'll be like white brothers, arm in arm, and it'll be perfect. It might, okay, maybe crime might go down like a whole bunch. Maybe good things will happen. Look, I just don't know. But look, at the same time, I can't help but also throw in a little bit of, hey, slow down before you get too excited on things like that. Because look, there's people around the world kind of doing that. Getting all racially unified. And what? They're unifying under the banner of hate and anger and victimhood and blame. I'm thinking about South Africa. I'm thinking about, I guess that's the only one that comes to mind, but it's not going well over there, folks. So anyways, I'm rambling a little bit. Where was I? Jamal Bowman, maybe? Is that where I was? I'm rambling on things though that are kind of surrounding this upcoming topic here that I may not quite totally understand. So allow me to slow down and maybe speak on this a little bit. So how should I put this? I'm speaking about people unifying under this banner. They call it racial. They call it at times. Okay, how am I going to start this, folks? What a mess. I don't even know how. Because I guess what I'm seeing here is like I mentioned earlier, a change in mentality and factions, so to speak. And what comes to mind is the ADL a little bit. And this follows this topic of big tech censorship and even Kinzinger in politics and all that. Okay, and on my mind right now is censorship. Yeah, censorship. What's on my mind too is progressivism, if that's what you call it, and mainly this whole idea of undoing the racism of the past and undoing undoing racism and undoing these notions that of totalitarianism and authoritarianism. We can't let people think like that because that's World War II. That's Hitler. And so that's on my mind a little bit as I go forward here. And if you remember, again, like I mentioned, the ADL did this huge ad campaign against Elon Musk for his desire to make Twitter a free speech place. And namely, particularly what was also happening at this time is major criticisms. Oh, so basically, what happened? Is it fair to say, like, I'm getting my timeline mixed up here. Namely, October 7th and the whole Israel-Gaza stuff. So I can't tell you. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what came first, but I do know that around this time there was overlap here, and I think a lot of the ADL criticisms. This is going back to the ADL and their campaign of removing advertisers on the platform for Elon Musk. Their criticisms came around this same time. This free speech platform started to have all these criticisms of that war. You had these, they were like posting dead babies and stuff. It was crazy. You remember? And it feels like that didn't go so well for them, for the ADL, and not just the ADL, but this general notion of just oppressive censorship, I guess. How do I put it? Is that fair to say? It almost blew up in their face. And it seems like people they're more on this free speech side, to be honest, for whatever reason. And so where was I? Sorry. On this, so this change has happened in this mentality, in my opinion. The ADL, the intimidation campaign didn't work, blowing up in their face a little bit. And here's another, if I can add to why am I thinking it went there? Why do I think this censorship campaign blew up in the ADL's face? Well, it's just a general notion. I'm seeing the discourse from the left and the right, and they're kind of going hard on Israel. And they're like, and I don't know if it's always quite reasonable, if you ask me, but that's what it sounds like. Okay, so where was I? AIPAC so there's this interesting thing that seems to be happening where the ADL is now, I guess, like flipping on this notion of racism and open society where there's no color, and anyone who opposes that is like racist, right? Anyone who opposes that is like a racist or a supremacist of some sort, usually white. And there seems to be a general flip on that, namely some ADL stuff. And it brings me to the story of Jan Bowman a little bit. Democrats groan at AIPAC overkill against Jan Bowman. And so the story goes a little bit. AIPAC's unprecedented financial, this is from Axios, by the way. AIPAC's unprecedented financial investment into ousting Representative Jan Bowman has Democratic lawmakers grumbling about what they say is the pro-Israel group's heavy-handed approach. Why it matters, Axios asks. Even some lawmakers who are generally supportive of Israel say the money is meant to intimidate Democrats away from criticism of the Jewish state. It might change, it might change how they talk about it, one moderate House Democrat said. Bowman, a member of the Progressive Squad, and if you know anything about that, that's AOC, Ilhan Omar, and they truly are progressive. And maybe not as progressive as some constituents and students and people online and out there, their voters, but as progressive as I've seen, very, they love the riots. They love the voice of the unheard. They love this Black Lives Matter stuff. They want to undo this. I mean, look, Ilhan Omar, the things she says about white America. Look, you get where I'm coming from. Progressive squad. So Bowman, a member of this squad, was defeated handily in his primary election on Tuesday. AIPAC sent at least $14.5 million on anti-Bowman ads through its PAC, United Democracy Project, as of June 20th. Much of the spending, Bowman has emerged as one of Congress's most vocal critics of Israel, with so that's a little bit on that. Bowman being, he's called the. Let me get this part straight, folks. Hold on. Did Jamal Bowman call it a genocide? I'm pretty sure he calls it a genocide in Gaza. Jamal Bowman. Anyways, we can at least confirm here on Axios that he is one of the most vocal critics, at least, right? I just want to get some of that reporting accurately. So where were we? AIPAC, 14 million on anti-Bowman ads. Like we were just talking about social media and its significant influence on politics and the people. We can at least conclude AIPAC here is having a significant effect on this Bowman run. And I'm not a Democrat. You guys get me. He's a ridiculous person who is like what? He's a ridiculous person. He's a total hate, blame, and victimhood guy. He blames others for example, the gun stuff. He'll blame a Republican for what one person does to another with their own actions, like any of these gun control people. So I definitely don't support Jamal Bowman. But what is it about this that's interesting, I guess, and this whole thing about factions and change in politics? What seems to me, from what I could tell, it seems like these normally progressive, left-wing groups that support, I guess, left-wing Jewish groups that initially, what seems to me, want to undermine things like fascism. And to do so, you got to have this like open society that, you understanding me here? That you got to have this open society that's not racist. So it seems like there's been a sort of flip, and I'm sort of, I guess, documenting here a little bit. Am I getting anything wrong here, folks? 888-775-3773. But it seems like they may be seeing there's something wrong here with the did they create a monster they can't control, is what I'm trying to say here. You understand? The left wing side of I guess this whole progressive thing on being anti-racist and all that has actually had a negative effect on the Jews. And if you know anything about that, a lot of them are progressive and leftist at times. Is this them? How do I put this? Is this change in the right wing and the money behind it? I mean, the ADL, I wouldn't call them right wing. AIPAC is right wing, sort of. The ADL, I wouldn't call them right wing, but they seem to be teaming up with the right wing, and I think some might criticize that and be like, that it's probably not for good reasons, and I really don't. I would out of past behavior, I tend to agree, but I can't help but put this question out there: is this particularly bad? In that Can't left-wing people and Jews in this case see October 7th and see these people turn on the Jews and all that, and then be like, and then for the Jews and the left wing and the progressive people, the ADL and AIPAC and all that, for them to say, oh, well, you know what, maybe we had this thing wrong. Maybe we had something wrong here or something. So yeah, I'm personally, I'd like to hear from anyone that knows if they could tell me. But what else about this? Did that make some sense? Because I don't even personally totally understand it. So maybe that's why it might not make sense to you folks. Am I making at least some sense here in this politics world that we're trying to understand? Do you see that as a sort of change? And did I describe that well enough? This seeming a flip from progressive racism and that's bad to, wait, actually, it looks like these people have turned on us as well. They've turned on anyone who even just looks white, and that. I doubt it, says Irish Repub. So anyways, yeah, willing to hear y'all out if you got any thoughts on that. I don't know anything more than that. Let's see what else here. But what else here? Turning on the squad. They're turning on the squad. So even if you don't have thoughts on that, like me, maybe you hopefully you see what I'm seeing here that is at least interesting, no? Anyways, look, whatever. Moving on. 888-775-3773. As money moves in the background of the American politics, as people's minds maybe change, or is it actually just dark moves in the background? Who knows? As that's all going on, you know that Trump is going to be debating Biden tomorrow. There's talk that so apparently that he may have picked a VP, vice president's pick. You've heard some names. Tim Scott. I've told you I don't particularly care for someone like that. You've heard other names. J.D. Vance is a name I've heard a lot. And I'm trying to think if I know anything about him before this clip. And I can't say I do know much, other than he was like this never Trumper guy. But then that changed. He changed his mind. Hey, people can be wrong, right? But he was a never Trumper guy, or at least had some major criticisms of Trump pre-2016 or whatever. J.D. Vance, a name I'm hearing come around more and more as this VP pick. I think I got the biggest taste of J.D. Vance today when I was looking up some stuff for the Jesse Lee Peterson show, and I saw that he was on Fox and Friends. And they had him on. I don't know if this was this morning, but he was on Fox and Friends with his wife, who's an Indian lady, Usha Vance. And I do believe that's her last name, J.D. Vance, Usha Vance. Although in some places they use her name, Usha Chilukuri Vance. So I just don't know. In some places they make her look like a good wife who took his last name. At other places they make her seem like she's one of these progressive wives who will either keep her name or keep her name and add his name at the end, or hyphenate their names. It's just not a good look. I can't confirm. Usha Chilukuri. Why should I even know that, Heavy.com? This is a married woman. Why even state that? Even if it was true that was her name. That was her name. You see that Heavy.com uses her name here. Usha Chilukuri Vance. No, you mean, maybe that's her middle name, huh? Maybe that's just her middle name, huh? Usha. So he's married an Indian woman. And where was I? So he was on Fox and Friends. And I think this is the most I've ever gotten out of this guy, in that, and not because he's like a recluse, but it's just because I just haven't looked it up or anything. I come across his spot on Fox and Friends, and he doesn't say anything particularly bad. Personally, I can't disagree. He explains why he was never Trump, and after seeing this amazing 2016 term, that how could anybody be never Trump after that? He was just such an amazing president. And I want to say, I'm not going to poo-poo that. I can't help but nitpick a little bit. There were problems. I wouldn't say they're entirely from Trump. But hey, why am I going to nitpick J.D. Vance? How are you saying it was an amazing presidency? So amazing, in fact, it flipped him. And that's very believable. That's just a believable thing. J.D. Vance, okay, where was I? I want to play some of this. He's on there with Usha. What else? What else did I think about it? He didn't say anything particularly bad. Sounded pretty tough, to be honest. Telling Republicans you got to have the political will to close the border, to deport people. You got to have the will to do that. And that you can't be afraid of what they call you. J.D. Vance is saying there. You cannot be afraid of any names they call you. And I got to say that's just true. I wonder if he would keep that same energy if, let's say, they called him a white supremacist. If they called him a racist, you know what I mean, J.D. Vance? Like, I want to say that's tough. I don't know much about him. It sounds tough. I've heard a lot of tough sounding stuff, though, from a lot of Republicans. And he's saying, don't be afraid of words. I hope he can maintain that, especially as White History Month is coming up. I can't tell you the countless amount of people Jesse Lee Peterson has talked to. And he asked them a simple question. Do you love white people? And the sweat and nervousness that starts happening, it's incredible to watch sometimes. But okay, J.D. Vance here. I couldn't help but also throw this in because of all the people around him. The Fox and Friends host is scolded by Ainsley Airhead to not forget Usha in a moment you're going to see. And he has to do all this. Like, I just don't know why Usha's even there. And they don't even say anything bad, I guess. But this might be somewhat interesting. Frigate, let's go.
Who's the VP pick and the president saying, I know who it is. I've already selected, right. But only I know. I went down to Ohio to meet J.D. Vance, and and his wife, which she's never done an interview before, so that was interesting for us.
And his wife, Ainsley. Don't forget his wife. Yeah, maybe the anchor baby is nitpicking way too hard, but I don't know, folks. I don't know if that doesn't speak on the state of decay.
So interesting for us. I got to know more than what the media narrative is for J.D.
That's the whole idea.
And here's part one of that interview.
I think the most important.
Oh no, did I leave? Is this my cut down clip or did I leave the whole dang thing? Let's find out.
Man, is you cannot have Republicans who are
okay, cool. I have it cut down.
Terrified of being called bad names by the media.
You were critical of Donald Trump, and
sure.
They show your tweets, they show your past comments. I don't think the country cares about that, but I do think they care about the evolution in the sense of why.
Yeah, first of all, so Trump was just a very, very good president. I would say a great president, right? And I think when you look at something and you say, look, this guy was successful. He brought freedom. He brought a ton of prosperity to our country, peace on the world stage, right? Like, you didn't have a new war popping up every year. So I just think the results were so good.
I don't know. I just can't help it. I guess I can't help myself but poo-poo. I support the man. I've always liked the man. And people have called my show like, hey, well, Nick, come on. Like, can we talk about that first term? Like, there's problems. And I can't help but lend, shout out to the peeps who are criticizing and aren't just blind. I remember responding to those people saying, well, he had a lot of opposition in his own party. The Republicans came out en masse. It's like in showing the public, I think, something they've never seen before, which is this deep state, entrenched power going against the wishes of the public, which Trump was representing. So, you know, on that, I guess I don't know if I'm just being too suspicious or something, but if I may nitpick, Vance, I guess I agree with everything you said, but on the results, and we could talk about the reasons. I'm not going to blame Trump, but what can I say? I'm rambling at this point. What else? Vance, results. You know, the people he picks. I don't know what to make of that sometimes. Anyways, let's keep going.
How could anybody look at it and say, oh, yeah, I was critical of Trump in 2016, but he proved me wrong? So
in many ways, you could do that. Even if you saw the presidency, the results, you had some criticism of that. That first term still shows you the evil, entrenched power in the government. And in my opinion, shows who Trump is.
This is Usha Vance.
Okay, so now they're talking to Usha.
How do you feel about this run? That he could potentially, I mean, he dragged you into the Senate race, and now he wants to be vice president. Are you ready for the scrutiny that comes with potentially being the second lady of the United States?
I don't know that anyone is ever ready for that kind of scrutiny. I mean, I think we found the first campaign that he embarked on to be a shock. It was so different from anything we'd ever done before. But it was an adventure. And so I guess the way that I'd put it is I'm not raring to change anything about our lives right now. But I really, I believe in JD and I really love him. And so we'll just sort of see what happens with our life. We're open.
Wait, I forgot why I left that in. I don't see anything particularly wrong with that, Nick.
She is really sharp. I mean,
I think I left it in because of their response here.
Just an excellent attorney, very sharp on time, just runs the house as well as being a professional in-law as well. He converted to Catholicism.
Can you run the house and be a professional?
And she helped him convert because she's Hindu.
Hindu. She's Hindu, helped him convert. I don't know what he means by helped him convert, but let's not read too far into that because we don't know. But yeah, helped him convert. She's Hindu. You know, they ask him, and I think I left it out. They ask J.D. Vance, how does he handle a home where they asked J.D. like, well, how does he handle it when in a home raising, leading a home with two different faiths and something like that. And then she jumped in and said, well, we talk a lot. We just talk a lot.
But his priest is one of her best friends.
Small world.
She talks about how she felt like that's what he needed in his life, and she wanted to support him in that. She says she doesn't want to put the cart before the horse.
Hey, she's supportive, folks. She's supportive.
Thinks it's too soon to be talking about being second lady, but she said she never thought she would be a senator wife either.
It's funny, Usha was not raised Christian, is actually not Christian. Oh, really? Yeah, but I remember when I started reading.
So anyways, a little on J.D. Vance. I feel like this is the most I've ever gotten out of him, because it's the first time I've seen it. And, I guess I just don't know. It does feel like a little like J.D. Vance has already been picked. You know what I mean? It feels a little bit like that, although I'm getting reports that Trump has said that nobody knows, that even the VP pick he has in mind doesn't even know. So that's what's been reported. It just feels a little bit like that J.D. Vance has already been picked. I don't know about you guys. And anyways, so that's J.D. with his wife Usha. She seems supportive and took his name and all that. Seems like whatever. Not being afraid, I hope he can really maintain that energy though on free speech and hate speech, because it's gonna come out. They're gonna come. Even if you got an Indian wife, J.D. Vance, even with your Indian wife, they're going to come after you, sir. They're going to do it. They're going to look at Trump. They're going to come after you, sir. So I hope that energy can be maintained. You understanding me a little bit here? Okay. I think we can move on. JD, Trump, 2024. We'll see what happens. A professional in-law, asked Doom Jesus. Yeah, I don't know. That piqued my ear too. That caught my attention as well, Doom Jesus. What do you mean a professional in-law? What are you talking about? Okay, let's see. What else here? See what y'all are saying here before we get to the final thing here. The final things here on American Anchor Baby. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much. buymeacoffee.com/anchor baby. Thank you for that. Appreciate the support there. And thank you, rumble.com/American Anchor Baby and dlive.tv/Gorgonzola. Appreciate that, folks. Okay. Let's see here. Nit shedding a single tear for no Vivek VP. Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that an interesting pick? But I'm realizing I'm out of my depth here. You're welcome to call me about it. Inform the Anchor Baby what he's wrong about. But JD Vance, I can't even say. I can't even give you a take. Because it's seemingly fine. Vivek. I don't know. Here's how I feel about it. It seems like everything about 2016 and going forward, anything to do with Trump everything is outside of the rules. In that whatever strategy you're supposed to have with VPs and all that, it's like, who cares? Who cares? It's like, as long as there's no one that's too much of an enemy against Trump, someone who won't be too much in the way, someone who will just be like, it might even be better to have someone maybe even useless as a Trump VP vice president, someone who's not entrenched with the GOP, someone not all like weigh in with all that nasty deep state establishment stuff, Democrat, Republican, been a politician for years kind of thing. Because that's kind of how it was done the first time, right? Mike Pence. It might even be better to have someone just useless and not connected. Okay? Vivek definitely got more of that 4chan meme magic that we needed in 2016. Hey. I didn't say that. Carver said that. I didn't say that. Carver said that. Okay? You know what I'm saying? So anyways, here the thoughts a little bit on the politicking going on. I think we could move on. Who's watching that tomorrow, by the way? I'm getting mixed reactions. Oh, it's boring. It might be interesting. I'm feeling the same way. About that. I can't help but say that I'm gonna watch it a little bit. I think we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. Biden versus Trump. Who's watching it? Can we do a live stream? A lot of people want to see that. What do you guys think? When's it going to be on, though? I don't think we'll have Jesse. Jesse Lee Peterson's show ends at 9 a.m. I think this thing is going to be on at Biden debate, Trump. When's this thing going to be on? How to watch first debate between Trump Biden. It will start at 9 p.m. Eastern, so that's 6 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, good luck. I don't think any of the fellas want to stream. If it's someone, it's going to have to be a knit stream on a Thursday. But okay, they're about to square off on a debate stage. It'll be a 90-minute debate. 9 p.m. Eastern Time will air on CNN channels and be simulcast on MSNBC. They'll have primetime coverage and all that. You'll be able to stream the debate on msnbc.com for free, according to Yahoo News. So if you care about that, there's your news on that. msnbc.com. You'll be able to stream the debate for free, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on CNN channels, msnbc.com. We'll see what goes on with that. Will they load up Biden with chemicals, they say, allegedly. Alleged chemicals to think quicker, speak quicker, or at least a basic level. Bring him up to a basic level. Anyways, I mentioned these astronauts, and then I got something on. I got a clarification here, I guess, on this PDF file thing. PDF files. You know, yesterday the anchor baby was seemingly defending black women knifing these poor defenseless white women, blaming the victim. And then the other day the anchor baby was defending Harvey Weinstein. What a mess. What will the anchor baby defend next? The other day he was defending PDF files, seemingly. Maybe people didn't quite understand me, and I was hit with some content on Twitter. It's caused me to bring this back up and maybe clarify for some of the people here. What the heck is the anchor baby talking about? But what the heck? I mentioned this astronaut thing. It's getting worse. I shouldn't have mentioned it. Everything I give attention to, it's like God wants me to have a more interesting show. I start paying attention to planes, they start falling out of the skies. I start paying attention to this. You see what I'm saying? I get fed content. The astronauts who are apparently at the International Space Station the other day, they were fine. It was just a reschedule. Now Boeing is struggling to bring its astronauts home. They're stuck for an unknown amount of time. There have been 2 aborted attempts, and it really does seem like these 2 astronauts are stranded out there on the International Space Station. And this is from the skim as NASA and Boeing continue to delay their return amid technical problems. Earlier this month, Boeing's Starliner finally managed to lift off after 2 aborted attempts. But the problems didn't end there, which seems to be a bit of a trend for Boeing. The skim, the ladies at the skim being a little, kicking them while they're down a little bit. The astronauts were only supposed to be in space for 8 days, but are now going on day 20. Houston, we have a problem. Funny. Still, NASA and Boeing have repeatedly made statements that the spacecraft is fine. It could be brought back in an emergency at any time. Just not right now. Okay? But if there's an emergency, we could do it. Starliner can stay docked for up to 45 days as they work out the kinks. I wonder about the details here. Can anybody just go up there and save them? Or do you have to have because these vehicles and different things, they dock and they have certain ways of functioning. So I wonder, can SpaceX go up and save them, or does it have to be Boeing? Does it have to be Boeing and with their tech, because it's their tech that brought them up? Do you know? Bill seems to know. SpaceX, anybody can take on that mission if Boeing can't seem to hack it, you think? It'd be interesting to know the deets. Do you know what those people are doing up there? You know if they're let's say I'm Boeing, and let's say I'm an astronaut in Boeing Starliner, and it goes up and it docks with the International Space Station. What does that mean? Does that mean you're only stuck in Starliner, but you're hooked up to the ISS? Or does that mean you can leave the Starliner and go into the ISS?
No, they're in the ISS.
Oh, so they're in there. They're floating around in the International Space Station and they're doing their thing.
Right.
Okay, so if let's say somebody else came up with their own vehicle and docked with the International Space Station, they can go into that vehicle and just leave with them or whatever.
They would have to plan it out.
They'd have to plan it out, but there's more seats.
And the right size seats.
The right size seats, Bill says. But yeah, it's doable. Yeah, I was wondering logistically what these people are facing. It can't be good news. It can't be what you want to hear. helium leaks and all that. 8 days turning to 45. It can't be fun times. But maybe it's
Maybe they like it up there.
maybe they like it up there, says Bill. Maybe. Life at home just ain't the same. Please, 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 can we stay another week? Hey, whatever. I wonder if they're married. That's a joke.
No.
That's just a joke, as if like that's just a joke. Let's move on here. That's the deets. That's the deets on the astronauts. What else about them? What else about them? Nearly a decade ago, NASA tapped Boeing and SpaceX to build commercial spacecraft so that the agency can routinely send astronauts to the International Space Station. However, Boeing has been struggling to keep up with SpaceX, which has been sending astronauts to space since 2020. NASA needs Boeing to get it together so that it's not reliant on just one company. There's still hope that Boeing can pull this off, but the company needs to prove it can safely take astronauts to space and back if it wants to continue doing business with NASA. So that's what's going on there. Imagine being stuck like that. I blame Biden for those astronauts dying on his watch. Wait, hold on. We're not even there. But yeah, man. Yeah, Carver. You want to say something about that?
I don't know.
Something you want to say about that?
No, but
really. Go ahead.
But nevertheless, I'm just gonna go over here and.
What's up, Bill?
Hey. So, yeah, they're. I mean, you got the story already. They're helium leaks, and their thruster problems, and apparently the thrusters seem to be working fine, but the software keeps on, when the thrusters turn on, keeps on acting like they're out of spec.
What the heck?
And then shutting them down. So
have they tried turning it on and off?
I don't know. So I think the thrusters are made by Rocketdyne or something. I'm not 100% sure. They're made by another company, and so they've been having problems with their thrusters. But it seems like these are all like software problems. So they're trying to like update the software and trying to figure out why it's having these software problems.
It's getting like you're getting like Windows update sounds while you're trying to set up your rocket. Like that's not what you want to hear.
Well, it's getting it's.
You hear the Bluetooth
error sounds on startup.
That's not good.
Those
you don't want to hear that. Doo-doo.
Right.
That like Bluetooth disconnect sound while you're trying to set up your rocket, their Boeing Starliner. All you hear is doo-doo. You're like, what was that? I don't know.
Oh, three of the thrusters malfunctioned. Yes. And then I guess you restart and you try it again, and then some other thrusters are
I don't know if that's supposed to. I don't know if that makes me feel better, but it's whatever. I guess they're not catastrophic issues. They're saying they'll work it out.
The other issue is a bunch of helium leaks, and helium is like a gas. It's super cold and it's really difficult. It's a very small molecule, and it's hard to seal it well.
Why did they have helium on there?
To keep everything pressurized. To keep everything's like the engines are very basic kind of engines. So they're extra reliable. And they're all pressure fed, so they're just pushed out. And the helium keeps the pressure.
Interesting.
Even at super, 180 below zero, whatever, the super low temperatures, the helium is still gaseous at those low temperatures. And they generally use helium for pressurization for these kind of things.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, wishing them well. Bring them back home, Boeing, or somebody.
Oh, one other thing. Back to your old subject. The one thing about the candidates or Trump's candidate.
Oh yeah.
They have to be able to take over as president. and do that job.
Ah, the vice presidential pick.
Right.
Right.
And they have to seriously, I mean, now I know in Biden, they don't care about that. The Democrats don't care about that. But seriously, you have to have somebody who can take over. And look how old, he looks pretty good, but look how old Trump is.
Mm-hmm. Reasonable thoughts here from Bill.
All right.
Absolutely reasonable thoughts here from Bill. Man, thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. You got to have someone that knows the job. And would you say that's like would you say that, are you saying that point at all in an opposition to anything? Or to the notion, for example, you got to, like, someone that's useless? What I was saying, like someone that's useless, that wouldn't be in the way, that wouldn't be deep state. Yeah, that's a fair point, man. Interesting stuff.
Right.
Right on.
You can't have, that's why you have a kilometer.
That's why we have a what?
With Biden's vice president.
Kamala?
Kamala.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just picked her for whatever.
For whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be, people don't seem to like her. Might be going against them. Interesting, Bill. Appreciate the sober, reasonable thoughts on that. Let's see here. And bring the boys home. Okay. Trump picking Kamala Harris as VP for maximum uselessness. Nice. All right, folks. Let's do this. Let's see here. I think we'll do this. Or should I save it? I think I might have to save this. I might have to save this. We'll move on from that. But I will, I did mention the PDF file thing. So we'll do this real quick. I'm not talking about saving this. But it's not going to require much time. I was scrolling Twitter and came across this video. And I couldn't help but think about a previous time I brought up the PDF file stuff. And it was about, these videos of people going around finding a predator or whatever. And, these people pose as a 14-year-old or this or that. And then they trick these predators or whatever to come out, and this predator person ends up finding an older individual. And this person's filming them and saying, hey, you're here to meet this so-and-so. But guess what? It's me. And you were going to do nasty things, but guess what? You were talking to me. And the police are coming or something. And anyways, I'm remembering it where I played a video not too long ago, a similar video, and I was saying, there's something strange about the good guys, so to speak, the so-called good guys on this side of the issue, the good guys in this whole thing. And I couldn't help but, I guess, nitpick a little bit. And I guess to some that sounds like a defense of pedophilia. Like, I'm okay with that. And not what I'm saying, but I think I can maybe crystallize what I'm saying a little more today. I think I can crystallize a little bit better what I was trying to say back then as well. And I know someone understood, but here's for those that didn't. Genre. A genre. And when something becomes a genre, it becomes normal. And this is a genre of content. Going after the PDF files. It's a genre. It's not just like a movement. It's not like, oh my God, this is happening on TikTok. And that was, remember when they were going after the PDF files and that stopped? No. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't, I don't know if anything's even changed. It's simply a genre of content now. It's just like it's just genre. You understand what I'm saying? It's a genre of content. And if you wanted to go check out PDF guys getting messed up, getting like criticized, getting like, blasted or whatever publicly, you can go look up this genre of content. But, maybe, am I nitpicking too hard here? You understand what I'm saying here? It's like, suddenly the initial, I guess, the initial motivation here to stop the violation of children now becomes an industry. You don't understand what I'm saying here? It now becomes an industry. Look, watch this. And I didn't quite check for swears, folks. Sorry. But they say that this guy was going to meet up with some young 14-year-old girl or something like that. And allegedly, according to the caption of this video posted, they say that the guys he met up with, who weren't this little girl or whatever, beat him up. They beat him up, and you can see his face is red and stuff. Accused child predator put to sleep after allegedly trying to meet up with a 12-year-old boy. Okay, allegedly. And they're saying, look at this guy. We got him, they're saying. And his face is red like they beat him. One of his eyes is red. Look, they slap him up. You see him here. Like, you meeting up with a 12-year-old boy, huh? And they starts kicking him. Like, yeah, he gets what he deserves, right?
You like that? Is that how you thought you was going to get caught tonight?
Oh.
That's a
darn. And so that's what's going on. And it's like, Nick, why are you defending this PDF file? He's a child predator, man. You could pick something. You could literally pick anything else to talk about. But I don't know. I just can't help. I can't help but nitpick a little bit because I come across this video, and I actually come across videos like this all the time since I'm following the right wing and all this. And it's like a genre of content. It's like, wait a second. Why is this a genre now? I understand the point. If there was a point you all were trying to make. Okay, cool. Maybe there's a movement. Maybe something has to be done. But none of that, none of those things are happening. Oh, awareness to stop the PDF files. It feels like all that has taken a backseat to the genre of content. And now that it's a genre, it's normal. Am I making sense here? This is exactly what I mean about signal boosting and all that. And these people who are going after these guys aren't. It's like, can we say that those are saints themselves? And I'm not saying you have to be a saint to go up against to be against child predators. I'm not saying that, but I just can't help but nitpick a little bit. Like, think about it like this. In a lot of ways, you know, I'm remembering a story, and it was a friend of mine. And this friend of mine went into a store, and this store sells like expensive things. I forget what it was. And my friend, to mess with this store clerk, pretended to be a really stupid like person, like just kind of like a person, like an uninformed person. And he noticed while he was acting this out, this store clerk was lying to my friend and trying to get him to buy something expensive, but was straight up lying. And my friend was like, "Yo, I got him to lie. Look at these people are such snakes and liars, man. They're just trying to lie to you to steal." But in that moment, I thought to myself, and I told him, I was like, "But wait a second. To be fair, if someone was going to lie to someone to fool them and make them purchase something expensive, it would have been that person, the person you presented." So in a sense, you like brought it on yourself. Are you understanding me here a little bit? That for my friend to just blame that store clerk would be shallow. You see what I'm saying? It wouldn't be the full story. So I guess this is just another segment of Nick defending child predators. But I'm nitpicking here particularly, and I think I'm being clear in my nitpicking here. I think I'm being clear in my nitpicking. I don't know if it's that important, but I can't help but notice this genre of content, and I don't really see anybody nitpicking for Christ and nitpicking for love here, with the express purpose not to defend and justify child predators, but to increase love and decrease hate. That's the purpose here. Okay. Did I make some sense with that? That's it with that, I think. And I think we'll end the show here with Tom Cruise as we get ready for White History Month. We'll do a little silly thing with Tom Cruise and say goodbye to the people. Let's say goodbye to the people here with Tom Cruise, huh? Shout out to Tom Cruise on this. As White History Month is coming, Tom Cruise is an interesting individual. For whatever you could say about him, here's one thing. He's one of the most audacious and daring individuals in the world. One of 7, in fact. One of only 7 people to have been on top of a certain building. The Burj Khalifa. Do you know anything about the Burj Khalifa? A skyscraper in Dubai. It is the world's tallest structure. Skyscraper in Dubai. The Burj Khalifa. The tallest structure in the world. It's in Dubai. United Arab Emirates. Okay? The Burj Khalifa. And there's Tom Cruise is one of 7 of these 7 individuals of the entire world, the only people, the only humans who have ever scaled the Burj Khalifa. Amazing stuff, right? The 7 people. Who are the 7 people? Well, some of them are like activists, activists, like, who else was it? Who cares? I can't seem to load this link I saved for this story because Yahoo is an unusable website. In fact, all of these websites are becoming unusable. Like, just list out the 7 people. Anyways, Tom Cruise is one of those people, one of the world's most audacious individuals. And he's not the only one, okay? He's not the only actor who's been on top there. And I want to... It's also Will Smith. Will Smith joins the list of some of the most audacious individuals in the world, being one of the 7 on top of this building. But I got to say, there's a little bit of a difference between the two here. There's a little bit of a difference here in how they took the picture and how audacious they may look. Here's Will Smith. Will Smith on top of the Burj Khalifa. Pretty daring, huh? Daring stuff from Will Smith. I don't know if many would do this. Look at him there. Yep, one single slip. That's the end of you, buddy. And it's scary stuff. Not a lot of people would do it. Audacious for sure. Daring. Can we say this for sure? For whatever you may be able to say about Will Smith, he's a daring individual, huh? But he's a little different, though. He's a little different than Tom Cruise. Look at this picture of Tom Cruise on top of the Burj Khalifa. Can you note the difference here? A little different than the way Will Smith did it. Okay. Okay, Tom Cruise. Truly a daring individual. Shout out as we get ready for White History Month. Tom Cruise stays a daring individual. And I don't know. I just don't feel as safe as Will Smith here. I just see a little bit of a difference, okay? That's all I'm trying to point out. Not exactly the same picture, although both of them are one of the 7 on top of this building. I got to say, they did it kind of differently. Okay? Shout out Tom Cruise. Look, I'll say this. I will poo-poo this picture just a little bit. For those listening, Tom Cruise is on top of the Burj Khalifa seemingly without a harness. I'll say this. It's probably most likely he had a harness. Maybe a little one hidden or something. If I'm going to poo-poo just a little bit, it's most likely he had some kind of harness. It's maybe possible he didn't at all. He is a daring individual. You know, he does his own stunts. But hey, I don't know. You know, I'm just saying. It's a different caliber of picture here. But anyways, folks, they CGI'd the harness out. Well, according to Snopes, this is a real picture. A JLP Will Smith interview would be amazing. I agree. There are currently 7 Mission Impossible movies. Really? That's incredible. Nick is a Scientologist? No. Anyways, White History Month coming up. That's it from the Anchor Baby. I'll see y'all tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby at 12 noon Pacific time. That's Thursday for Bible Thumper Thursday, Hake Report, Joel Friday, and more American Anchor Baby. Take care, folks. Appreciate you being with me today. See you tomorrow. Bye. Peace. Oh, little Nick, too. He's got to say goodbye. Bye. Oh, Big Nick's back. He's got to say bye. Bye.